All right, guys, we are kind of starting to work backwards now, talking about our unit circle and actually like finding angles on our unit circle. So we're going to be using inverse sine, inverse cosine, and inverse tangent to find angles. And you're still going to be practicing filling out the unit circle because you don't have it memorized. You're going to draw pictures and figure it out from there every time, right? Okay, so for example, find theta. Remember, this is theta. If the sine of some angle is square root of 3 over 2, could you find that angle? So I'm going to draw two things. I'm going to draw 30, and I'm going to draw 60, because I do not have them memorized. So then I remember that for my 30 degree, it's longer, so it's going to be square root of 3 over 2 is the long side and 1/2 up, which means my 60 degree triangle is 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. And then I have to remember that sine is the y value. So which one of these have sine as the y value? Theta would equal 60 degrees. So using your unit circle kind of backwards. I used to give you the angle and ask you the sine and cosine. Now I'm going to give you the sine and cosine. You give me the angle. All right, so it says find cosine theta if find theta if the cosine is square root of 2 over 2. So something that I remember, it should be negative square root of 2 over 2, is that it's the 45s have these. So this is square root of 2 over 2, positive square root of 2 over 2, negative, positive, negative, negative, and positive, negative. So let's see, this would be 45, 90, so let's see, 135, 225, and 315. So notice I do not have these memorized. I added up 45s until I found them all. Where is my cosine? Negative square root of 2 over 2. One of them is here, and one of them is here. So there are two answers for this one that would work. When you do this in your calculator, you could find it. So here's how you do the algebra. To solve for theta, to undo cosine, if you will, we have to take the inverse cosine of both sides. So in your calculator, you could type like this. Look like this. You would say cosine negative 1 square root 2 over 2 and hit enter, and your calculator would give you one of these answers. You have to give me both. Your calculator gives you one. In your book, you'll see that sometimes it says this, and those mean the same thing. So arc cosine is the same as that button on your calculator that looks like this, and arc sine, for example, is the same as your button on your calculator that looks like this. So we can use that calculator button too to find angles. Not using our calculator button yet, but more like drawing a picture. People seem to get stuck on these, but if you remember, tangent is opposite over adjacent, and you drew, it said Q1, so I'm going to draw my triangle in Q1, and my theta's here. My opposite would be 6, and my adjacent would be 11. The tangent of this angle is just 6/11ths, and that's because tangent inverse undoes tangent. It's not the same here, because these are different. Cosine inverse does not, or sine inverse, remember this is the same as sine inverse, does not undo cosine. So what I'm asking you here is find this angle here whose sine is 2/3. So let's find that. Let's draw our picture. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Find that angle. Here it is. Doesn't matter what it is. Here it is. Now find the cosine of that specific theta. To find the cosine, we need this last side first. So 2 squared plus, I'm using Pythagorean theorem. So that's this. And so the cosine of that angle would be adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, so you're not actually looking for an angle. We found it. It's right there. Okay, so this is one where we are going to use a calculator. It says if little side g, now this goes back to the original days of SOHCAHTOA talking about how to name. Little side h would be here. How do I find the angle h? Okay, so first I'm going to decide what I have. I have opposite here and hypotenuse. So I would say sine of h is 21 over 28. And just like I talked about like 2 slides ago, if we take the sine inverse of both sides, we should get an answer. Now, I don't have a calculator up on my Explain Everything, so I'm going to use the calculator on my phone, which is sometimes a little wonky. You guys know that. So the first thing I'm going to do is type in 21 divided by 28. I'm kind of working backwards. I get 0.75. So the sine inverse of 0.75 should be h, and then I'm going to hit second and sine inverse, and it gave me 48.6 degrees. Now if I did this wrong and you got something different, guys, please let me know, because I used the calculator on my phone. Okay, same things with word problems now, and this also has elevation, angle of elevation, so we need to make sure that we know which one is elevation. 100-foot building, so here's my building, 100 foot, and it casts a shadow of 88 feet. Okay, what is the angle of elevation to the sun? So the sun is somewhere up over here. Okay, the angle of elevation is this angle here. So it's from the ground looking up. I see that I have opposite and adjacent, so I know that's tangent. So tangent of theta is 100 over 88, opposite over adjacent. Now I want to take both the tangent inverse of both sides to find what theta equals. So I have tangent inverse of, oh, these cancel out, I'm sorry. So I'm going to use my eraser here. Over here, all I should have left is theta. So theta equals tangent inverse of 100 over 88. Again, I'm doing this in my calculator. I got that theta equals, is this the same answer? 48.7 degrees. Okay, again, if you got a different answer than me, I could have very well done this wrong. So that's kind of it for finding angles. This last slide just says your homework on it, and I'll obviously put that on Schoology anyway. So using your unit circle, but also using your calculator. If it's a point on your unit circle, you need to use your unit circle. If not, you can use your calculator.